Back to Philly Sports Unfiltered. Guys, in today's video, we have some exciting news. It looks like there is a real serious possibility that Jalen Reagor is going to be off of this team before the start of the season. I'm absolutely pumped for this news. I want to take you guys through the whole history of what's going on with this and where he may be landing. So it is looking like there's a really strong possibility that Jalen Reagor is going to be traded to the Ravens. And this situation has been developing for quite a long time. So in the year that Jalen Reagor was drafted, he was really high on the Ravens draft board. So the Ravens have been a team that have been interested in Jalen Reagor since the time that he entered the NFL draft. And that interest has at least stuck around from that point up until now, but things have really started to heat up since this past year's NFL draft. And now, if you go out and you look at all of the Ravens beat writers, everybody that's covering Ravens football, basically every Ravens media personality that is covering the team has been talking about the Ravens wanting to trade for Jalen Reagor because they're really struggling at receiver in Baltimore. They unexpectedly just all of a sudden lost Hollywood Brown. Lamar Jackson was absolutely pissed about this, and they just need some more bodies in their receiver room. And lucky for us, looks like they're willing to take a little bit of trash off of our hands, and they could be interested in Jalen Reagor. So it says NFL pundits remain convinced that the Baltimore Ravens will trade for a wide receiver before the start of the 2022 season, perhaps targeting a certain flashy wideout from Philly. This offseason, most of the talk surrounding the Ravens has been about two things: how Baltimore won the draft and how the team's largely unproven wide receiver corps will fare. They're calling Jalen Reagor an up-and-coming receiver. Thank God that they don't read the Philly media. And also there's another report from Bleacher Report. And basically Bleacher Report, they were going through and talking about one deal that every single team in the NFL should make. And the deal that they were saying that the Ravens should make because of the loss of Hollywood Brown is that they should link up Jalen Reagor and Lamar Jackson. Please do this. Now, it gets even deeper than this, okay? Because in this past year's NFL draft, the Eagles and the Ravens were discussing a potential Reagor trade. There's something that was already on the table. The deal didn't get done. We don't exactly know what was the case, but it seems like that exact same deal that the Eagles were talking about with the Ravens on draft night, that the interest from both sides on that deal has not gone away. Okay, so let's look at what this deal is. So Adam Kaplan of the Inside Birds podcast said, the Ravens were trying to trade Chuck Clark during the draft, and they talked to the Eagles, Kaplan said. Our understanding is still that they were not interested in Chuck Clark at that point, meaning that the Eagles at that point were not interested in Chuck Clark. Now, it was on draft night, so at this point, the Eagles had no idea what type of help they were going to be able to get from. Maybe they would have drafted Kyle Hamilton. Who knows? So maybe at the point that they were in discussions, the Eagles really didn't know who was going to fall to them on their board. Maybe they were targeting some safeties. That's why they probably decided to not do the deal at that time. But now, we're a lot through the offseason, and you're looking at our depth chart. Still, safety is by far the worst position on our team. It's an area where we still need a lot of depth. And so this could be a deal that could be still on the table, and it would be a good idea, in my opinion, for Howie Roseman to pull the trigger on this deal. Now, who is Chuck Clark? So the Ravens, they are very, very deep at safety, and he is a veteran. He has a lot of starting experience, and he is somebody that seems to be like he's going to be the odd man out. He's going to be falling out of the rotation. Number one, he actually has pretty good production. Last year, he had 49 solo tackles, 2 interceptions. I believe he brought one back to the house, and he had 12 passes defended. Now, his 12 passes defended, this was tied for 20th in the NFL, which honestly, if you consider that there's 60 plus starting safeties in the NFL, he's in the top third. It's really not so bad. So he can defend in the passing game, which is something that we really struggled with last year. And the deal that he's on really is not bad. For this coming season, he's only standing to make $4.6 million. And for next year, he's only $5.1 million. So we're not talking about a huge deal. Reagor, I don't even think he's the fifth best receiver on the team. So you're trading somebody who, in my mind, I would cut anyway. And you're getting back some starting quality depth at safety, somebody that can help in the passing game. I would pull this trigger on this deal immediately. Number one, I can't stand Jalen Reagor. I think he's a net negative on the team. I think he makes us worse. I don't want there to be any temptation from Nick Sirianni, from Howie Roseman, from Jalen Hurts to get Jalen Reagor involved in football games. I don't want him on special teams. I don't want him in the return game. I just don't want him in an Eagles uniform, period. Now, I would give him away for free. I would cut the man. You're telling me that I could get back a starting caliber safety that could help us out defending the pass for Jalen Reagor? Do the deal now. Now, there's one other story that I want to touch on because there's been a little bit of chatter that I've started to hear in the media. And I started hearing people say that, they think Nakobe Dean is struggling. And not so much that Nakobe himself is struggling, but they're saying that, basically the other linebackers, up until this point, they've flashed a lot more than Nakobe Dean. And so, hearing this, I just kind of want to hit a pause on this kind of chatter because if you look at the type of player that Nakobe Dean is, okay, he is a field general, and he is somebody that basically dominates his position from his knowledge of the game, from his instinct, from his ability to read what offenses are doing, for his ability to predict what's going to happen next. And if you've heard Nakobe, at his press conferences, recently, the thing that he's talking about right now, what he's working through is he's learning, all of the terminology, that the Eagles defense uses. So he's picking up a lot of things still from the academic side. He's not fully comfortable there. So as somebody who is used to operating as a field general, until he reaches that point of real mastery with the defense and studying NFL offenses, he's not really going to be able to become the best version of himself because he does rely on being able to be very instinctual, very predictive of what the offensive is doing, moving the pieces around the field. So I think you will gradually see Nakobe Dean come on more and more. His quote-unquote struggles, I don't think it has anything to do with his ability or the fake injuries that they were talking about in the NFL draft. I just still think that he's wrapping his head around the defense, around the terminology, and the more time that he has to do that, you're going to start to see him flash more and more. Because Nakobe's game, it's never been about him being some physical freak of an athlete, him being the biggest, strongest dude on the field. That's not who he is. But he's a dude that knew what was going on at all times. He has a nose for the ball. He can smell what's going on in the plays. And that's because he dedicates himself to learning. And he just naturally does have good instincts as a football player. But I think we're going to see that come up a lot. So anyway, I want to ask you guys, what do you think about these two stories? Are you pumped that Jalen Reagor might be off of this football team before the start of the year? Are you even more pumped that we might actually get an asset in return? Look, I'm being honest. I would give up Jalen Reagor and I would give the Ravens a 7th round pick and get nothing in return. I would be totally fine with that. But you're telling me I can get rid of Jalen Reagor and I can actually bring back a player that will contribute to our football team this year? Psh, I'm in. I am absolutely in. And two, what's your level with concern with Nakobe from a 1 to 10? I'm at a 1. I'm not concerned whatsoever. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and would appreciate if you guys join in the conversation in the comment section below. That's all I got for this one, guys. Catch you in the next one. Go Birds.